Hey everyone. So today's lesson, we're going to talk about negative and positive space, but mostly negative space. And if you've read the email that I've sent through with this video attached, you will have a little bit of an understanding of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about negative space. But just to give you an example, excuse the video here today, I'm so sorry, I'm holding my phone because I want to show you something on my iPad at the same time. So if you start to feel seasick, it's totally because of my camera work. Anyway, if we have a circle on the paper here. Now, if I'm drawing that circle, I'm drawing in positive space. I'm drawing what it is that I want to be the subject of my piece of art. If I want to use negative space, what I might do is set up a boundary for my drawing, and I'll draw everything except the circle. So if I focus instead, whoops, there's my camera. If I focus instead on all the background space here, and this is going to be very rough, but if I focus on all of this around here, then I'll end up with, and this is very, very rough, as you can see, I'll end up with a circle, but I haven't drawn it in a positive way. I've drawn it by doing everything around it and then leaving it to pop out. So that's what I want to focus on today. It's, if you can imagine, if I was drawing, if I'm trying to copy something exactly, like let's say I'm doing tree branches and I'm trying to copy something absolutely perfectly because someone wants an exact replica of something. Now, if I've drawn that and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking something's not quite right, I can look at the length of this branch, I can look at the direction of that branch, I can look at the thickness of the trunk. But if I still can't find what's wrong with my drawing, what I can do is look at this negative space around it. Look at the shape of this space between the tree trunk and the branch and compare that with my subject piece. And I found in my experience that if I check that negative space here, I'll always work out what it is that's not quite right. So that's why I want to really work on this with you today. So I've pulled out a few examples for you to choose from. And just to try and sort of reinforce what I've written in the email, if we look at this example here, on the right-hand side here, this is the face that's been drawn in positive space. So the outline of the side of the face is there. We've actually drawn in the lip and drawn in the nose, the eyelashes and the eyebrow. So that's all positive. On the other side here, what they've done is all the space around it. So a space around the nostril, a space around the outside of the nose, the space between the eyelashes and the eyebrow. And then by doing all of this space here and leaving these bits, that's working purely in negative space. And then those things just pop out because they're the only things that have not been drawn. So it doesn't matter which drawing you choose to work from today, they will all have the same result in terms of teaching you a little bit more about negative space. I've chosen to work from this one just to talk you through it a little bit. So what I would suggest is in a picture like this, where you do want some symmetry, so you want one side of the face to be pretty much the same width or the same height as the other. So it's useful to have a line just down the middle of your page to start off with. And I don't mind either if you just sort of measure, for example here, the width of the mouth on the right-hand side and copy that over and just pop a little dot there, just so it can help you to keep your proportions a little bit in check. But what I've done here is a little bit hard to see because I've done it quite faintly. So on this side of the face, I've roughly drawn out the positive space, very roughly. So I'll go over that a little bit more darkly. And the theory with this type of drawing, by the way, as well, is that it works both sides of your brain. So one side is a little more logical, one side is a little more into kind of spaces and shapes. So this helps to use both sides of your brain. Whoops, camera work. Absolutely appalling. I'm so sorry. I'll try and get a little bit better with that next week. Right, so there's our positive space roughly done. So on the opposite side here, if we're looking at this space between the eyelashes and the eyebrows, and it does take a little bit of getting used to, you'll find yourself swapping from one to the other. But rather than focusing on these shapes, what I want you to really look at closely is this shape here. What sort of shape is that? So it's a little bit like an oval that's flatter and more angled on the top with an open end. This is a little bit oval-like here. So what I've done on, my sheet here, so I've tried to sort of replicate that kind of shape. So a little bit sort of oval-like around here with an open end. And then I just roughly shaded that in. Do it quite roughly to start with. Later on, when you get toward the end, just grab a tissue and blend that so it softens out. And then underneath the eyelashes here, I want you to look at that shape. So almost like sort of the head of a bird here, and then it's got some V, those black sort of V shapes coming in. So that's what I've done here as well. I've looked at this kind of shape here, almost like the head of a bird. And then I've tried to put in these kind of V shapes underneath, very roughly. And then if I shade all that in, again, it's extremely rough, then you get those eyelashes sticking out by default. Same thing again down here when you're looking at the mouth. If you just look at that tiny little black shape in there and try and draw that in. Oops, oh God, camera, just terrible. Right, so try and draw that in there. And the space as well between the top lip and the nose. Just look at that shape, look at the width, look how this little bit here curves in. And just keep doing that. Try not to focus on what these objects are. What these objects are. Focus on the space around it. Okay? Now, as I was saying in my email, like I rarely work only in this way. If I was to draw a face two ways like that, I would be doing a lot more measuring and comparing, and you can see here like my symmetry is out. Do not worry about that. What I want you to do today is just getting used to working in the negative space, just getting used to how to observe things in that way. And if you can do that, I promise you, it will help you going forward. Okay? Send me through your examples, send me through your questions. Thank you to those that have. It's fantastic to see what you're doing and to be able to give you some feedback to help you going forward. So enjoy this. And if you've got any ideas for the next few remaining classes, do let me know. More than happy to work from your suggestions. Okay? Speak to you soon. Bye.